Hi everybody, thanks for joining me again on another Monday video. I'm traveling back from Minnesota and didn't want to make sure that I didn't miss out on spending some time with you guys. So let me quickly show you what we'll be working with tonight. On camera, I'm going to use Taco Fiesta stamp set found on page 52 and the Delightfully Eclectic Designer Series paper pack. I've shared this one with you before. Big stack of 12 by 12 sheets. You get 4 each of 12 designs. Lots of super fun patterns and colors. Hi, Eden. I have a visitor in my studio, so I apologize for the little meowser. Like I said, this one is literally well named, Delightfully Eclectic, all kinds of crazy patterns and styles. This one here coordinates with the inked and tiled punch pack, so you can use the punch itself to go directly to the DSP and get something punched out of those shapes. There's the other sides of those. I did share this one a little while ago with you guys in an earlier Monday video, so you've already seen this particular piece of set of paper, but I wanted to use it again because it's super duper cool. Okay, so let's get started with tonight's card layout. I had you guys take probably some odd measurements as far as you're concerned to see what we're going with here. This should be a really fun layout. When I first got this card inspired by Beth Tetzlaff, a fellow demonstrator, it was still in its packaging. We send them sometimes to each other in clear envelopes. And I looked at it and I went, how in the world did she get that cut? And then I realized it's not a cut at all. So this is going to be super fun to share with you guys. All right, so the first thing you needed was a piece of cardstock that's 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to be using Calypso Coral. Then in that same color, you need a square that's 2 by 2. And like I may have said, we're going to be using it as a diamond shape. For the neutral piece as well, that it's the same size. So make sure that you're checking that out when you do your stamping images, phrase, whatever you're going to be doing. Make sure you've got it orientated in that diamond pattern. And then still in the Calypso Coral color, or the card-based color that you have, you need 2 1/4-inch strips. I just said 8.5 because that's the width of the paper. It's easy to cut. So if you've got something close, don't worry, that should still work out. And then a piece of Designer Series paper that's 4 by 5 1/4. Again, this comes from Delightfully Eclectic. That's kind of a mouthful sometimes. And then some twine or cord. We're just going to do a little knot or a little small bow. All of my samples that you see tonight are going to be using the Baker's Twine Essentials Pack. You get 5 different colors. So there's black and white, vanilla, gray granite, and drawing a blank on what color that is right now. I'll look it up when I get back. Crumb cake. There we go. I had written it on the other side because that was smart of me. All right, my sample tonight's going to be using the black cord. So let me go ahead and get that out as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is you're going to decorate up your neutral piece. Again, have it oriented as a diamond shape. And voila, through the magic of television, there's my finished one. I used, again, Taco Fiesta, and I did the little piñata guy and used some blends to kind of make him colorful, but still keep the white interesting there too. I looked up a couple different ways that people have been coloring the piñata, and that's just struck me, visually really struck me. I like the white imagery there. Okay, go ahead and set that one aside. Now we're going to take just your piece of DSP. So don't attach it to your card front. Don't do anything of that yet. We're just going to take our DSP, and you're going to take your 2 by 2 piece of cardstock that matched your card base, and we're going to put some adhesive on the back of it. And you're going to, again, we're going to orient it in a diamond pattern, and you're going to go for about the middle, top and bottom, left and right. Doesn't have to be super perfect, but just aim for the middle. Again, leaving it in that diamond pattern. Now you can decide if you want a little bit of green glue or your regular adhesive on this next part here. So we're just going to take this and we're going to run some adhesive along a long strip of it. Oops, I forgot to bring over my little silicone mat. So now we're going to frame this with these little strips of paper. So the first one is going to line up with an edge there, go across here, and go all the way to the edge of the Designer Series paper. Then grab your scissors and trim off the part you don't need. okay? But hold on to it, because now we're gonna add more adhesive. I'm gonna stick with the side that I haven't cut off yet, so it's nice and a square and lined up. And I'm going to go and do the same thing now. We're just going to rotate this one turn, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to butt up to get this edge here. Go along the line. You want these to be really close together, nothing showing in between. Okay. And if you've got like a thin glue, sometimes that'll work a little bit better. You can just run a little bit of a line down and stick it down like that as well. It'll be a little less sticky maybe. Whoops. Speaking of sticky, it stuck to my fingers. All right. So this is just scrap. You can go ahead and toss it. And then we're just going to do the same thing again. So rotate it around, grab your next piece of 1/4 inch cardstock. Running that a little bit of adhesive or your green glue, as we like to call it. All right, again, butt it up here. Align it all the way across. And trim. And again, starting at the end, that is still perfectly square, I guess you could say. Our last one here. So it's going to be framed out all 4 sides. Almost kind of resembling like a pinwheel, I guess, is kind of what we went for there. Okay. And trim off that last piece. And voila, that is it. Okay. Now you can go ahead and mount it to your card base. You didn't want to do that first because you wanted these trimmed off at the DSP sides, not the card-based side. So now we can put our adhesive on there. And, oh, that's right, if you haven't already, make sure you give that a nice burnish to hold that down nice and hard there. And now this guy's gonna go and centered on the card front. Okay, so that is the base of your layout tonight. Then you're gonna go ahead and take that piece that we colored or you've stamped or a phrase or whatever you've done with your neutral piece. And that's why we put this card piece down at the exact same size, partially to have something to line it up against for those other pieces. But then also now you have the perfect spot that's gonna get filled in with your neutral square. Okay, so that is the basic layout. Now, if you want to take your twine or your cord or whatever you have, make a little knot or a bow that can fit nicely into your pattern somewhere. Or, you know, you can always leave that off too. It just adds a little something extra. You could also grab some bling, add, like I said, well, I got to start over. Add rhinestones or pearls or some kind of other sparkle, just to dress that up a little bit if you like. All right, my fingers aren't awake yet. I'm doing this earlier in the morning than I normally would. Okay, there we go. Now I got it. All right, just gonna trim that down a little bit then. Grab my glue dots. And there it is. Take my glue dot, or my piece of twine to the glue dot. Now, because twine is pretty narrow, before I pick it up off of there, I do tend to kind of squish it together so that the glue dot sits nicelier. Nicelier? That's not a word. Nicely or nicer. Those are words. I'm going to go ahead and put that at the top of my square part here and just do a little more trim. There we go. Okay, so there is my finished card with that basic layout tonight. So again, when I first got this card, I looked at the similar layout and went, how in the world do you cut the DSP in such a great and perfect and oddly shaped patterns? And then I took it out of the packaging and went, oh my gosh, it's not even cut at all. That is perfect. Okay, so here's some other samples I did. This one is using Sweet Citrus. And again, the DSP comes from Delightfully Eclectic, so it's got those cute little lemons on it. So I instantly grabbed my Sweet Citrus because that's the perfect little stamp set to go with it. I broke up the Have a Zesty Birthday phrase a little bit because it was too long to fit across, and I thought that was kind of a fun way to show it off. And then I stamped this guy separately and then popped him up. So it gives it a little bit of dimension. And then I just used that crumb cake twine to do a tiny little knot in the middle for interest. All right, this one here, excuse me, comes from Color and Contour. I love this tiny floral pattern in the Delightfully Eclectic papers. I just think that's so super cute. Again, I took the vanilla twine and I used my olive blend and I kind of I hit it randomly, so there is still some of the vanilla showing through, but I thought that was just kind of a fun way to dress it up a little bit, bring back in this color from behind. And this time I did a phrase and a visual and a piece like all together. So that's one of the flowers from Color and Contour and a phrase from there. This one I think is one of my favorites from tonight. This one is Make a Milkshake. I did it as the sundae. The set comes with makings for sundaes or milkshakes. But this is all just die cut pieces out of smoky slate. I added a little bit of Wink of Stella to my spoon and to the ice cream itself. The ice cream was stamped and then die cut. I used the word celebrate, and as you can see, I added a little piece of smoky slate behind the white square. So there's an extra layer here. Oh, and I also wanted to point up on this one, I popped up the entire white square, giving that a little lift off of the paper. So that one, again, Make a Milkshake. And then lastly, I flipped the concept of the light and dark. So here I used a neutral base. So I have a white cardstock base, and then I used a darker base of DSP. And then I picked another color, light color for this part here. And this is again from Color and Contour. I took my blend of the same color, so that's Petal Pink, and I just kind of scribbled a little something as a background, and then I stamped over it in navy to match that. And then here is some more of that Baker's Twine from that same pack. Again, this is all popped up, so that's another option, like I said, as you do these squares. So like I said, I just flipped the concept of the light and dark versus the light or the dark background, light DSP, light background, dark DSP. All right, and here is my stepped up version. All I did was pop this guy up a little bit. I created a little doodle around the edge of the white square, as well as highlighting the strips that go across by using my black marker along them. And I dropped a little Baker's Twine bow down to the bottom. So there's my doodles. You can see, like I said, I added the black lines for definition. And that was really all I did for a stepped up version tonight. This was pretty basic and simple, and it didn't need a whole lot of wow, because I think this factor here already is the wow as part of this layout. So again, in here, let me show you the inspiration sample from my fellow demonstrator, Beth Tetzlaff, and hers was even using the Delightfully Eclectic paper, so I thought that was kind of cool. I just jumped with that and went with it. The difference here is her middle part is a little bit bigger because she used a stitch square die to do that base. So I just took it down a tiny bit of size so that it was easy for you guys to cut out of your basic neutral colors. So you can play with the size of that piece in there as much as you want. If you want it to be bigger or smaller, then you just do that accordingly. Still go with maybe those 1/4 inch strips along the side if you want to, just to give it those parts some definition. All right, let me bring this up a little bit so I can get them maybe all more into camera for you. Sorry for my hand in the way. There we go. All right, so there you go, guys. That is the layout for tonight. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you all again live next week. Take care.